Okay, good morning, people. Last class we are looking at the uses of these microbes in terms of biocontrol agent, like specifically bioinsecticide, bioherbicide, and biopesticide. So these were the three categories that we looked at biocontrol agents, where it specifically talked of different organisms, mostly bacteria or fungi, used in the farming practices so that the use of chemicals is being avoided. And that's more like a natural type of farm and developing a complete ecosystem within the farm field itself. So now we are going to look at the use of these microorganisms as biofertilizers. So again, this is the same concept like we had seen earlier. Just the uses of these microorganisms will be used more as like a fertilizer. So organic farming is the raising of the crops by the use of biofertilizers. In most of the cases, organic farming does not use any of the chemicals from outside. Outside in the sense, like let's say a plant is there which has chemical properties, those plants can be used. Like yesterday we were saying that azadirachtin, that is neem tree, that can be used as insecticide or pesticide. So something like that which already contains chemicals which are protecting the plant in the natural environment without additionally using chemical. That's what is organic farming. Then biofertilizers in general, they enrich the nutrient quality of the soil. What it needs is nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus, and so on, and oxygen, of course. And the bacteria or the cyanobacteria as well as the fungi, these are the main sources of biofertilizers. So like you might have heard many of the bacteria which are called nitrogen fixing bacteria, which we'll see later. They act as a fertilizer because they enhance the nitrogen content of the soil, so ultimately the plant has better growth. Cyanobacteria again has similar properties, and the fungi also, they increases the like porosity of the soil and so on. That way they increase the uh, nutrient enrichment. We'll see all of this. So bacteria as fertilizers. So in this, some of the bacteria, they will improve the soil fertility by the addition of nutrients. And how do they do that is because of the biological activity that happens within this bacteria called as nitrogen fixation process. So the environmental nitrogen will be taken and it will be converted into nitrate like of compound, type of compounds, and that will be absorbed by the plant. And these bacteria, they can be symbiotic or they can be free living, or even occurring in the loose association with the roots of the higher plant. So if they are symbiotic, that means they are taking something from the plant and then they are giving back something to the plant. Free living, that means they are totally independent on their own, but at the same time they do the process of nitrogen fixation. And occurring in loose association, that means again something like symbiotic, but they are in close contact with the plant roots. So the symbiotic nitrogen fixing bacteria, or what is also called as legume rhizobium symbiosis, or also known as rhizobial biofertilizers. So these bacteria, they form the nodules, especially on the root structure in the legume plants, and they will fix the atmospheric nitrogen in presence of a pigment called leg hemoglobin. This is the type of the pigment which is utilized to convert the atmospheric nitrogen into like the usable nitrogen by the plant. The enzyme nitrogenase will catalyze this fixation reaction under the anaerobic condition, and this leg hemoglobin will combine with the nitrogen and protects the nitrogenous. So that is the action in general. So atmospheric nitrogen will be taken inside, nitrogenase will catalyze the fixation reaction, and leg hemoglobin will protect this nitrogenase enzyme so that it forms a complex, and then the nitrate like products are formed which are being utilized by the plant. So that is what is rhizobial biofertilizer. Then this free living or what is called as non-symbiotic bacteria, Last year we had studied this Azotobacter or even this Bacillus polymixa. These are the soil bacteria which are free living, and they also do the function of nitrogen fixation. Azotobacter is quite commonly known. Bacillus polymixa is not so well known. And the third within this biofertilizer, bacteria as biofertilizer, was loose association of nitrogen bacteria, and the example there was Azospirillum. These are isolated from the roots of grasses like or even rice and maize, which is like more of a monocot type of plant. And at this plant roots, this Azospirillum is present, which fixes the nitrogen. So these are the different example of the like bacteria as biofertilizer. Second one of this biofertilizer category is the cyanobacteria. Now, cyanobacteria, by the virtue of having the property of like from that archibacterial species. So, symbiotic cyanobacterial biofertilizer, again the same three categories will exist, like similar rather, symbiotic, free living, and again in combination with the roots. So, these symbiotic biofertilizers in the cyanobacterial cavity. Azolla is type of aquatic fern, and in the cavities of these leaves, where the spores are located, alongside this Cyanobacterium Anabaena azuli is found, and this bacteria is known to fix the nitrogen from the air into the plant body. So azole is the type of the fern, and on the leaf of this one there is this Anabaena azuli, which is a bacteria, cyanobacterium, which is growing on the leaf, and that will fix the nitrogen. And again, it's a symbiotic relation because both of them get benefited. The azolla also get to grow due to the nitrogen, plus the bacterium, cyanobacterium, also gets this nutrition. Then free living cyanobacteria, the examples are again Anabaena. So same species can also exist. I mean, there are of course different species of Anabaena, and these species they can exist as free living cyanobacteria. Nostoc and Aulocera, these are another two examples of the free living cyanobacteria. Again, free living cyanobacteria, that means they are not dependent for nutrition on anything else, rather they are independent. Azolla Anabaena symbiosis. So this is the same situation like in the symbiotic biofertilizer. What is Azolla pinnata? That plant will grow with the Anabaena azuli that you just mentioned as a special condition here. And these are the different cyanobacteria which are used as the biofertilizer. Actually, if you have ever seen organic farm fields, they usually have a small pond, and in that pond they grow this azolla, which is like a very thin like leaf-like structure, and then that spreads like anything on that water body, and then that can be utilized for like whatever that microbes are generated, that can be utilized in combination with the soil to enrich the nitrogen content. Then the last one is the fungi or fungus as the biofertilizer. Now this had been quite unexplored area for quite many years. In the deep forests or wherever there is ecosystem is very well preserved, there the fungi they have been doing function of acting as a biofertilizer. So you can also see the difference between the farms which are naturally growing. You will find lot of fungi there, and the farms which are using lot of chemicals, you will not see much of the fungal growth here. Fungal, that means mushrooms and stuff like that. So all of that whole category. So there are these mycorrhiza, which is the mutual association of the fungal hyphae. Again, you know what hyphae is. which is like that tubular structure on which the fungal growth happens. So this fungal hyphae grows in combination with the roots of certain seed bearing plants. So that means almost like dicot plants. And the common fungal partners in association are this Glomus, Amanita, and Laccaria. These are the names of the fungal species, which are not again so common, but there are other fungal species as well which can be commonly found. Again, like if I should show you this particular part, Glomus fungal. So this is actually the type of Glomus fungi. This one specifically. This looks, it's a kind of microscopic fungi. So sometimes you will see this on root. If I see, I should get the better pictures. Not really. Maybe these are microscopic pictures, but yeah, something like this. There is now. This is also mixed with a kind of cobweb, I assume. But yeah, that yeah. So there is a very fine filamentous fungi. Sometimes you might have seen a root system like this, which has the growth of fungi, which is like more of a whitish tinge or whitish thread-like growth on the root part of it. So that these are the different types of fungi that are being named here. And that association with the root is called as mycorrhiza. Myco is the fungal counterpart, and the rhiza or rhizome, that is the root counterpart. So that's why mycorrhiza. Then there are two types of this mycorrhiza. One is ectomycorrhiza, that means it's on the outer side, and the other one is endomycorrhiza. Ectomycorrhiza, it is like growing on the root surface. So this fungal mycorrhiza forms a mantle. Mantle is kind of a layer on the root surface. Like for example, earth has the crust, core, and the middle part is the mantle. So something like that. There is the mantle means a kind of layer. So fungal mycorrhiza, that means this different types of fungi, they will form a layer on the root surface, which ultimately increases the surface area, which is very obvious because it's a thread-like structure. So more surface area will be generated, and this will lead to the increased absorption of water as well as mineral. So due to the increased surface area, the fungi as well as the root, both of these things will absorb water and mineral, and which through which the plant will get more benefit. One of the other function of this ectomycorrhiza is also to protect the root from the infection, because it's making a kind of layer around the roots. So that is when there will be less chance of infection or exposure of this other species or other pathogens to the fungi. And this is usually found in the oak, pine tree, or peach and eucalyptus. So these are just the example where ectomycorrhiza can be found. And the endomycorrhiza, now in this case the fungus will live within or between the cells of the cortex. So the root has the epidermis. Within epidermis, right next to it, is the cortex region. So between the cells of the cortex, that is within the intercellular space, or even inside the cell of this cortex, this mycorrhiza or endomycorrhiza can be found. Examples of in which this endomycorrhiza is found is the orchids, tobacco, tea, rubber, soybean, and citrus, and so on. So this fungus, it actually forms a very temporary hyphaeal projections between the between or within the cells, and that is what is called as vesicular arbuscular mycorrhiza, VAM. Vesicular, that means it's a vesicles which are like thick walled swollen structures, and arbuscles, these are the dichotomously branched haustorial branches. Haustorium, if you remember, one of the inner layers of the root structure, which we had seen again in the what cross section of the root, especially the dicot root. So that branch haustorial structure. In simplest term, what this VAM is nothing but it's a tubular network which is growing inside the cortex, which contains fungal tubular structure as well as the cellular tubular structure, and that is what is called as vesicular arbuscular mycorrhiza, and that is within the cortical cells or cortex of this. So these are the two types of fungi as biofertilizer, ecto and endomycorrhiza. So I guess that's it. Yeah, that's it with this whole chapter. Do you people have any question in any of this, especially the biofertilizer part? Okay, so if there are no questions,